Welcome back. As we've been talking about this morning, Texas Democrats still in Washington, D.C. this morning, refusing to come back to Austin to finish out the rest of this special session.
State House Representative James Talarico is among the group of Democrats who left Texas, and he joins us this morning live via Zoom from Washington. Good morning, Representative. Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. I know you said it's been a tough night for you. Let's talk about what has been a tough night for dozens of you who are right now in Washington. The governor has said the minute you step back in the state of Texas, you're going to be arrested and you're going to the state capitol and you're going to pass that bill. What's your next step then?
That's why we're here in Washington, D.C. to demand that Congress take immediate action. We're living on borrowed time in Texas, and I think Democrats, independents, and Republicans should all be in agreement that we have to do everything possible to protect our precious democracy and our sacred voting rights. And that's what this trip is all about. It's trying to convince our federal lawmakers from both political parties to come together and take action to ensure that voter suppression bills like the ones that Greg Abbott and the Republicans in Austin are trying to push through never get across the finish line. And so I'm proud to stand with my colleagues united in speaking out for our voting rights and against this voter suppression bill.
Is this more symbolic, though, or realistically, can you get people on your side to stop this bill?
It looks like we lost him.
It's just symbolic. Congress can and should take immediate action to protect our voting rights and to protect our democracy, which is under attack in state capitals across the country for one single reason, and that's because of Donald Trump's big lie that the election was stolen. And Greg Abbott and his Republican counterparts feel the need to appease former President Trump and that big lie rather than standing up for our democracy.
Representative, the Republican criticism that we're hearing is that this is just a big waste of time. You're running away from your duty and you're putting important issues on pause. What do you say to that criticism?
It's real rich coming from my Republican colleagues who ignore public school funding, who ignore healthcare access, and fixing our power grid in order to focus on things like critical race theory and trans athletes and voter fraud, which is make-believe. So wasting time is a Republican specialty. What we're doing here in Washington is standing up for our constituents and standing up for the millions of Texans who could lose their freedom to vote if this voter suppression bill passes through the Texas Legislature.
Representative, we have a few more questions before we let you go. We've gotten a whole lot of emails from viewers asking, who is paying for this trip to D.C.? You all boarded a private plane and you're waking up in hotels. It's obviously expensive. Who's paying for it?
Yeah, we're doing it the old-fashioned way. We're fundraising to pay for it all ourselves. None of this is paid for by donors or outside groups. This is all paid for by the Democratic caucus, which means we've got to raise money through events, through small donations. Last night we raised more than $100,000 from regular Texans who donated $5, $10, $25 to make this possible. So this is a true grassroots movement, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
Representative Talarico, final question here. When you do come back to Texas, the governor said that you will be essentially asked to vote on this legislation. He'll keep calling more and more special sessions. Do you feel like there's a way of avoiding that inevitable potential fate?
Absolutely. The way to avoid that is for Congress to take action to prevent these types of voter suppression bills from becoming law in states like Texas. That's exactly why I'm in Washington, D.C. I left the greatest state in the union to come here. And the only reason I would do that is because I believe in our democracy in Texas, and I want to do everything possible to protect it for future generations.
Representative Talarico, we appreciate you waking up with us and giving our viewers some perspective on why you left the state of Texas. Thank you once again.
Thanks. I miss y'all and can't wait to be back.